Have you always been relationally oriented with like a high relational IQ?
I did have troubling childhood, which is the first training ground that we find about relationships. And in that, having good intuition and reading people and understanding where people hurt is a survival mechanism as much as it is a gift. And that spread itself to cultural conditioning, where I wasn't the cool hot kid. I was the goofy, weird kid. And so relationships is currency. And so it's like all those ways where I think I developed tools that I call some of my dark magician days of, I know how powerful my words are, I know how smart I am, and I knew I could get what I want if I manipulated the current in a specific way. So I detached from, I don't trust humans. I don't like humans. I'm a hermit. Like there's all that part of me that's very real. And then I care. And so when suddenly care start to come in, and suddenly I examined a lot more of my childhood wounding and my relational wounding and my fear of the feminine and my fear of people. Suddenly it was like, well, I have my preferences, I have my oddities, I have my neuroses, but I also really care about people. And I started to let love in more in my life. And I think that's been the difference over, say, the last 10 years of my life is, to be fair, just slowly letting more love in. And that allows me to actually, I think I'm a better person with my relationships now than I was 10 years ago. And I think I'm a kinder person and probably a little more here, a lot more here than I was before. So I think it started, to be honest, as a tool, because I think communication and relationship is a tool, especially in survival situations. But now for me, it's much more the reason why I keep doing any of this is I would love to see that sparkle of humanity actually see itself. And I don't want to spend every day with people. I'm still an introvert and I'm still a hermit, but I care, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. um, I'd say I'm similar and I'm still getting my confidence up, still in process. How did you find your way to the Gene Keys? Walk us back.
It was 12 years ago, I think. And Bina Zing, an amazing being who co-founded Wonderland, this art and music community that I was at for most of my time there. She brought this book to me, and dragonfly covered book, and had all these stories because she went to the early workshops with Richard and all these things and knew how to get our charts. And because at that time there was no, you couldn't go to jinkies.com. She hand drew our charts based off of Jovian and what she knew. And I hated it. I said nope. I said this is more astrology woo woo. I'm not doing it. This isn't me. And a few things wore me down. One was the stories of people's honesty with how powerful it was when the reflections hit home and they felt like they were writing it and they felt so seen. And it was like, okay, well, that sounds more real to me than just a story someone is telling me is true. I started to see that. And then the second thing was we played with it. We made art with it. We would do sketch comedy of acting out the Shadow Gift City. We would make art about it. And over time, my cynical, this is my scientific cynical side, started to relax and said, like, there's benefit happening here. I'm witnessing relational shifts happening. And as a community, we started to really use it as, we didn't have a guru, we didn't have a teacher, we didn't have even a practice. We all made art and music in different ways, but it's very wild. So when conflict comes up in community, to have a somewhat neutral third perspective that we could look at and not use our shadows at each other, but witness the gifts inside each other and hold each other to that compassion, that it really started to transform me. And about a year in, the myth just kind of came into my body and took over, and I was so excited by it. And I got to see it play out in my inner world, in my dream world, in my life. And it's been a love affair since then, of like, I've even tried to leave the Gene Keys several times over the last 12 years. And more than anything, it's provided a archetypal framework that makes sense to me, and I've seen its impact. And so I'm weird that way of, I'm not I don't I don't just believe something. I kind of believe in nothing, in a little bit of I try to keep a faithless faith about me of I believe in a love and compassion beyond myself. And I know that I don't know. And the language speaks the Gene Keys speaks a language of mystery to me that allows me to keep seeing myself freshly. So that's powerful for me. So I'm really grateful for this gift, even if it's been a strange, long relationship, I'd say.
Mhm. And can you walk us through how you utilized the Gene Keys within community conflict?
One of the pieces was just doing introspective work together. Like just seeing, like, here are my shadows, right? I have greed, I have immaturity, I have this disassociative quality of my line 6, I have this gift of aspiration, I have this gift of expansion. So suddenly I was able to articulate myself honestly in a space that wasn't just about my partner at the time pointing out all my qualities that she was probably right about. But in relationship, you can't do that work for someone else. And that only goes so far to mitigate maybe damage, immediate damage. It can be helpful to like put up healthy boundaries. But if we're not willing to look at those root causes in ourselves, we're just going to keep putting band-aids on things until we can get over it or move on or try. So for me, it was first and foremost, it was sharing dream space. It was doing our own introspective work and sharing that with each other through our literal sharings, and then in turn when a conflict came up, that was a part of the practice, was like, okay, what is my shadow's reaction to this story? And that circuit breaks a lot of things. It didn't fix our community problems, and it's a vibrant thing to live with each other, but it did provide moments of pause, reflection that wasn't, for example, me telling you how you should be. And I think that's a powerful breaker in like conditioned relational dynamics.
Thanks so much for tuning in, superstars. Did you know that I am also an illustrator? Did you know that my illustrations are featured on an array of amazing products, including this one, which you may or may not be able to see given my awesome background? So isn't she so cute, little Miss Scorpio? So all of my astrology series are on a rotating cycle on Society 6, along with a bunch of other really awesome designs. As you are inspired to nab some of my high vibe illustrated swag, click through the link in the description or find me society6.com/Danny Katz. And thank you so much for your support. Really, truly means the world.